Mesdames et messieurs, bonjour. My name is Denis Chagnon, and I will be your master of ceremony for the next 3 days. We are very excited at welcoming so many of you to this latest edition of the AVSEC Symposium, which will be the most interactive we have ever held. Throughout the symposium, most of the time will be devoted to exchanges between moderators, panelists, and you in the hall. Presentations will be kept to a minimum and short. We want to focus on debating issues and concerns that are relevant to you, your colleagues, and your stakeholders. In addition, the third day of the symposium features Engagement Day, an interactive setting for two-way communications among industry, research and academic institutions, and ICAO member states. The day also includes parallel workshops featuring practical and transferable experiences for you to bring back to your respective organizations. Please note that you must register for the workshops, and you can do so through the AVSEC website under the Workshops tab. Again, this year, we have activated the AVSEC application for your mobile phones or tablets and even laptops. The app has grown into an indispensable complement to the symposium program and activities over the years. It allows you to ask questions of panel members on stage and to connect with other attendees and exhibitors during and after the event. It provides the most up-to-date agenda and last-minute announcements. I invite you to download the AVSEC 2019 app from the Apple App Store or Google Play Store by searching for Events at ICAO. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome our many followers online. As we speak, the symposium is being broadcast live, courtesy of MSA Security. So if you have colleagues or acquaintances who could not be here today, let them know that they can watch us on unitingaviation.com, unitingaviation.com, or the official ICAO channel on YouTube. Sessions are available for viewing as soon as they start. We also have integrated to our agenda the Sky Talks concept. It provides speakers a timely opportunity to share best practices and potential solutions to the challenges we all face in the aviation security domain. Finally, I invite you to visit the many sponsors and exhibitors who have joined us for the industry exhibition. Our partners look forward to exchanging with you on the latest technological developments and innovations designed to ensure a more secure and user-friendly travel experience. And as always, simultaneous interpretation is available in all 6 languages of ICAO for optimal participation. As you can see, we have spared no effort to make this symposium the most interactive ever. If at any time you need clarification or additional information, our team members will be happy to assist you at the AVSEC information booth located near the escalators on your right. And now, to get AVSEC 2019 underway, it is my great pleasure to invite to the lectern Dr. Olumuyiwa Bernard Aliou, President of the Council of ICAO, for his opening remarks. Monsieur le Président.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to Montreal as we embark on this third ICAO Global Aviation Security AVSEC Symposium. This year marks the 75th anniversary of the Convention on International Civil Aviation, the Chicago Convention that established ICAO. Furthermore, It is the 50th anniversary of the Unlawful Interference Committee of the ICAO Council, as well as the 45th anniversary of Annex 17 to the Chicago Convention that contains the standards and recommended practices for aviation security. Also this year is the 70th anniversary of Annex 9 on facilitation of international air transport. It is noteworthy, in particular, that the border management aspects of Annex 9 may contribute to the use of advanced passenger information and passenger name record data in the differentiation of passenger screening. We are excited to celebrate our important 75th anniversary milestone through a number of aviation fora that highlight the wide spectrum of accomplishments to date and focus our attention on the future. In this regard, the third Global Aviation Security Symposium opens a series of interesting and innovative exhibits and discussions, culminating in the 40th session of the ICAO Assembly. By holding AVSEC 2019 now, we ensure that the security discipline is well represented at the ICAO World Aviation Forum and the ICAO Innovation Fair on Sunday and Monday. Next Tuesday, 24th September, marks the first day of the 40th session of the Assembly. During this important meeting of our 193 member states and many international organizations, the Assembly will update the worldwide policy of ICAO for the upcoming triennium. The 39th Assembly, convened in 2016, directed the development of one of the most pivotal documents in AVSEC, the Global Aviation Security Plan. In the 2 years since its adoption by the ICAO Council and endorsement by member states, extensive work has been undertaken to address the priority outcomes and their supporting actions and tasks. These efforts have highlighted numerous challenges and presented opportunities for innovative solutions. As you would know, the GASeP contains a set of aspirational targets for the effective implementation of aviation security SAPs. However, the Universal Security Audit Program, USAP results, reflects systemic challenges documented in many regions. It is therefore our intention that this symposium will highlight some innovations that will aid member states and industry in addressing those challenges. Over the next 3 days, we will focus on recognizing and overcoming AVSEC-related issues. This year's event theme is AVSEC Innovative Solutions, and will include speeches, panels, activities, workshops, and real-time polls that focus on the challenges encountered in improving aviation security and the mechanisms deployed to overcome those issues. Sessions will highlight best practices and lessons learned by states, industry, and organizations as they work to complete the tasks and achieve the outcomes of GASeP and its global and regional roadmaps. The panelists you'll be hearing from have been selected for their wide-ranging views, perspectives, and experiences in tackling AVSEC problems and developing innovative approaches. As threats evolve, our standards and recommended practices must also change to ensure that the associated risks are mitigated. Each revision to Annex 17 security and Annex 9 facilitation SAPs that support both aviation security and border management objectives requires adjustment to security measures at the national and local levels. Threats such as improvised explosive devices have been a grave concern for many years, but the increasing complexity of the devices and sophisticated concealment methods require innovative detection means and methods. Other emerging threats reflect the increasing availability of some other devices and the expanding knowledge by a widening user base. For example, the risk associated with the use of unmanned aircraft systems to interfere in aviation operations and even attack aviation facilities has increased recently. States should give urgent consideration to such threats and share information on detection solutions and mitigation approaches. Cybersecurity concerns have garnered a great deal of attention, and ICAO has established mechanisms to better understand, anticipate, and protect against cyber attacks. There are also challenges pertaining to the reporting of acts of unlawful interference to ICAO. The fact that not all AUI's acts of unlawful interference are officially reported by states makes it difficult to detect patterns of activity that could be preparation for an attack. Furthermore, strengthening capacity building efforts is crucial. To meet the GASeP targets, states will require assistance in enhancing their counterterrorism posture and resolving local vulnerabilities, whether those pertain to equipment and technology, and to training and mentoring. So as we embark on the determination of the next triennium of AFSEC work at the 40th session of the ICAO Assembly, I am confident those deliberations will benefit greatly from this symposium's debates. I wish you all a very productive and engaging next 3 days with us, and I will look forward to reviewing your outcomes. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for this timely and highly pertinent perspective. As I mentioned earlier, our symposium is meant to be highly interactive for you here in the hall and those watching the proceedings through live streaming. To kickstart the process, we are most fortunate to have as moderator for the plenary session the Secretary General of ICAO, Dr. Fang Liu. In conversation with senior leaders of the Aviation Security Commission and community, she will be exploring the value of sharing new technologies and innovative techniques and solutions to meet the targets of the Global Aviation Security Plan and United Nations Security Council Resolution 2309. At this point, I would ask our panel members to kindly join us on stage for the discussion. By the way, I noticed there were a few cell phones that rang during the speech a few moments ago. If you could kindly turn off your electronic devices, either cell phones or tablets, that would be very much appreciated. Now we are ready to go. And Dr. Liu, we are looking forward to a most stimulating session. Indian Gabriel will take care of it. Everything okay? C'est bon?
Thank you, Denis. Good morning, everyone. I'm privileged to moderate this first panel of leaders for this symposium. As we know, innovation is aviation security is of great importance. As we all know, the threat to aviation is constantly evolving, and terrorists and other people with malicious intent continue to explore new ways to target aviation system. They do so partly because their motives and incentives have changed over the decades, but also because new developments and new technologies offer them new opportunities to attack and disrupt air transport system. To protect the passenger, crew, and general public from the unlawful interference, we ourselves need to keep up with these latest methods as well. At the same time, we must keep in mind that the number of passengers and the cargo volume continues to grow. So while we have the duty to protect people, airports, aircraft from acts of unlawful interference, we also need to find a balance between security measures, traffic growth, and passenger facilitations. Each of these being areas where the innovation plays a very important role. This leaders' plenary panel session will therefore focus on the importance of sharing new technologies and innovative techniques and solutions while strengthening cooperation. So now allow me to present to you the panelists of this leaders panel. Ms. Angela Gittes has been the Director General of Airports Council International since 2008. Based here in Montreal, she represents the world's airports on numerous topics, including security, facilitation, and safety. Mr. Henrik Horoley is the Director General for Mobility and Transport in the European Commission. His responsibilities include the development and implementation of policies of the European Union on all modes of transport. Ms. Poppy Konza is the Director CEO of the Civil Aviation in the South Africa Civil Aviation Authority. She has a strong background in aviation security and served for 2 years in the role as the chair of ICAO Aviation Security Panel, and as a fact, was the first woman to hold that position. Mr. Darby LaJoy is Executive Assistant Administrator within the United States Transport Security Administration. He is responsible for mitigating the dynamic threat against global and domestic transportation systems and oversees TSA's global compliance mission. And Ms. Fu Rongtang is Deputy Director General of the Civil Aviation Bureau and Aviation Security Bureau within the Civil Aviation Administration of China. She has been engaged in aviation security work more than 20 years and is currently responsible for aviation security legislation, international cooperation, oversight and quality control system, training, media, and public communication. As you can see, coming from both regulators and industry, from different regions in the world, and having diverse backgrounds and responsibilities, I'm sure we can count on these aviation security leaders to provide us with insightful perspectives on innovation in aviation security. I would like begin by asking Henrik and Angela and Furong Tang about any recent innovative approaches in aviation security which you would like to highlight. Henrik, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you, Secretary General, and good morning to everyone here. It's a great pleasure and a very big honor to have this opportunity also to be part of that panel and to address you. I was also very attentively listening to the excellent speech of President Aliu, and I think that he also laid down very much the number of those challenges that we are facing globally in relation to the aviation security and the ever-evolving threats in this very dynamic environment. But first and foremost, I would really like to underline that we have achieved a very high level of resilience and a very high level of security in aviation. And I think that we should also look back and we should also be proud of what we have been achieving. And no less have we been able to achieve that because ICAO has been bringing the different players together and has also been showing the leadership. And I think that we have today also moved to the situation where you can say that the aviation safety and the aviation security are the two sides of the same coin, and they are equally important in order to make sure that we will have the safest and securest air travel in the world, anywhere in the world, which also you have been contributing from different parts of the world. Now, when we talk about the innovation, we also need to at the same time understand the ever-evolving threats. Yes, we have achieved a lot. We should be proud of what we have achieved, but we always have to be one step ahead of the curve. We have to be one step ahead of the perpetrator because the techniques are also evolving on the dark side. And I think one of those areas where a lot will be done and needs to be done far more, and also many things we even don't know yet about is related to the cyber threats and of course to the resilience, increase of resilience in cybersecurity. And I also see that ICAO can play here a very important role in bringing together the different players, but also showing the right direction because this is a very, very fast evolving threat. And at the same time, when we see more innovation, when we also see more digital solutions in aviation, obviously this will continue to be a big issue. At the same time, we also know that aviation is growing very fast. The predictions, the forecasts for the next decades globally are actually showing a doubling of the number of air passengers, which of course means that we just cannot do more of the same. I think this is very clear. We have more or less stretched to the limits of the current methods. And here, innovation is a fundamental issue to be able to continue to deliver the highest level of security at the same time when you also take into account the throughput and you take into account that you don't have perhaps that much time anymore on the one passenger. And of course, there is the information gathering, there is also the exchange of information, cooperation. That's one side. But the other side where the big change has to come is really also the innovation of the technologies. And here, I believe the research policy in aviation security and at the same time flexible regulatory framework that promotes innovation are very important. And how do we do this? Concrete example is the possibility under certain conditions to conduct trials. we believe in Europe that it is very important, these trials of new methods and technologies at our airports. And we have quite tangible results, because such trials have served as basis to adapt our legislation to new technologies and make them part of the solution much faster than it would have happened otherwise, because we know that sometimes these processes take far too long at the same time when market is evolving very fast. So for example, also our positive examples are like latest legislative amendments earlier this year to authorize the shoe explosive detection equipment as new screening method, and we established also standards for future explosive vapor detection equipment. So just to bring some examples which have been possible because we have had flexible legal framework, and we have been conducting successfully trials which have allowed this to be internalized in our legislation. And of course, a good dialogue with all actors is absolutely essential. We need to exchange information, and it is also very clear that this would help to get everybody on board. And I believe that in security as well, we need to continue to work on the capacity building, on the rolling out of the technology, and we should also very surely embed the fact that in security we will let no country to be left behind. Thank you.
Thank you, Henrik. I would like to request panelists, speak slowly. Because we have the interpreter and they do not have the speech, so to benefit the interpretation. Thank you. So, Angela, please.
Well, I can only echo what Heinrich just said about flexible regulation, about having trials. Unlike safety, and it's certainly true that safety and security are two sides of the same coin. Unlike safety, there's no enemy of safety. It's a matter of us trying to figure out how to make the system safer. With security, there are enemies, and they're constantly trying to penetrate whatever barriers we try to put up. So for ICAO, this is probably the most difficult arena because trying to have worldwide standards for security is just not going to work. We just can't keep up quickly enough at a global level with the kinds of processes and procedures that ICAO has to go through in order to implement things worldwide. So taking a page out of the European book, having that kind of institutional approach to innovation, I think, is the right answer. At our level, at the industry level, we're doing a couple of things to try to institutionalize innovation. One is our Smart Security program, where we enable, facilitate, study, and propagate lessons learned, the innovations that are going on in various places at airports or at the regulatory level. We have a governing body of airports, airlines, and regulators that oversee what we do and give us their insights and their wisdom. And we have a program that we're working with IATA, the Airline Association, called Next, where we purposely look at pilots, use of technology from the wider world to see what can be adopted by industry or by government to help. There are things going on, not to steal any of your thunder, but TSA in the US has had something called PreCheck, which is a risk-based differentiation program for years, and I've been very surprised that it has not been picked up by other countries or has not really been evaluated closely by ICAO, because it's the kind of thing that allows us to be more efficient, to get that throughput without endangering the security mission. And this is what we're going to have to do, because we can't keep doing what we're doing and look at doubling the the air service demand that we're all forecasting over the next 10 to 15 years. And we can't forecast all of the potential threat vectors that are going to be there. So innovation has got to get institutionalized. That sounds like an oxymoron, but we've got to purposefully allow for flexibility, for trials, for differentiation, for variables, for varying ways of approaching threats so that we can fairly quickly, get the lessons learned and propagate those throughout the network.
Thank you, Angela. May I invite Furong Tang, please?
尊敬的阿刘主席、刘芳秘书长、女士们、先生们，早上好！十分荣幸能够以领导小组成员的身份，参加国际民航组织2019年航空安保峰会，也很高兴可以有机会与来自全世界民航安保各领域的同仁们一起的探讨交流。我也非常同意刚才两位领导对航空安保创新方面的这些见解和诠释。那么结合 CAAC 的实践，我认为当前航空安保创新应该从以下4个方面重点进行探索：规章政策的创新、监管手段创新、安保流程的创新和设备技术的创新。规章政策的创新指国际层面、国家层面，还有企业的层面的这个规章标准文件的发展，应该与时俱进，要及时的修订、新增，应对新的威胁，回应行业的新的需求，引导企业新的发展。监管手段的创新呢，指国际的层面、国家层面监管工具和手段，还有企业内部的质量控制这个工作的创新，要切中这个重大的隐患，提高效能。安保流程的创新呢，是指安保工作的全流程创新，在保证安全的前提下，提升旅客的通行率和服务的水平。最后，设备技术的创新呢，是指安保设施设备技术水平的这个突破，来提高我们的查控能力，跑在恐怖分子的技术的前面。基于以上这4个创新工作的要求啊，我倡议世界的民航界共同在以下方面来加强航空安保工作。一个是我倡议各缔约国要加快制定全球安保方案的实施方案。我们现在中国已经开始着手制定对全球安保计划中国实施路线图，着力全面提升中国对全球安保计划的执行率。与此同时，我们也还注意到，目前全球各地区、各缔约国在推进实施全球安保计划本土化的工作进展中，也还存在一些困难。全球安保方案的具体的执行的指标和评价的体系还急需的推进。中国全力支持国际民航组织全球安保计划的全球实施工作，也愿意提供各种形式的协助和支持，竭力为全球航空安保标准贡献中国的智慧，提供中国的经验。这是第一个倡议。第二个倡议是倡议各缔约国、业界持续加强监管体系效能，着力打造安保文化。根据近年来国际民航组织的安保审计的结果显示，各缔约国对国际民航组织的标准和建议措施平均遵守率最低的都是质量控制这个环节，这也已经是全球的共性问题，是目前全球航空安保工作的一个软肋。 建议各缔约国在持续配合国际民航组织安保审计的同时，进一步完善本国的监管体系，并且通过提升安保文化、持续加强安保培训、媒体宣传等工作，来持续提升全系统的防御能力。第三呢，我倡议各缔约国业界厂商加快研究开发安保的新流程和新设备。随着全球民用航空运输市场的蓬勃发展，航空运输产业对安保工作也提出了更高的要求。在有限的资源下，如何保障安全又促进航空业的发展，是航空安保界不管是监管方，还是航空运输企业、设备制造厂商都应该考虑的课题。目前，世界各地已经有一些很好的尝试，比如说我们中国也现在在尝试差异化安检，现在也初见了成效。第四呢，是倡议各缔约国、各厂商加快推进新安保技术的研发和技术标准的互认工作。近年来，国际恐怖活动进入新一轮的活跃期，对航空产业整个链条的袭击手段和方式在不断的翻新。我们的安全检查的查控技术需要进一步突破，识别更多的种类的微爆品和风险源。与此同时啊，各缔约国、各组织之间要广泛的开展对安保设施设备的认证标准的互认合作，消除壁垒，引导航空业界的技术成果共享，共同抵御风险。谢谢。
Thank you, Frontang. From the previous panelists, we all hear there is a couple of key words. One is we cannot keep doing the same when the traffic volume continues to grow. And we need to be innovative. Now, I would like to ask a second question following the first round of the answer to the first question. How do we balance mitigating aviation security risks with encouraging traffic growth? What innovations should be our highest priority? So I would like to ask Poppy, and followed by Dabi Lajoie and Angela for this question. Poppy, please.
Thank you, Secretary General. I'd like to recognize the President of ICAO, Dr. Aliyu, as well as my fellow panelists. I'm very excited, SG, to be in this panel, perhaps for obvious reasons. The first one being that this panel has majority women, which to me is indeed a highlight. I'm sure we can clap for that. Thank you very much. It is indeed encouraging. So back to the question. IATA forecasts that the number of passengers transported by airlines will reach about 8.2 billion in 2037. And of course, this poses a good challenge for states and the aviation industry, in that we then need to ensure that a balance between growth and aviation security is managed. With any growth prospects, there are new risks emerging. However, the question is, will we be ready for this growth? And what is it that we should do better now to prepare for that growth forecast? What then becomes the role of innovation in simplifying passenger travel, but also protecting operations against acts of unlawful interference? Could innovation be an answer? Are we even ready to embrace innovation at a mass scale, as we have started to see? Are we, as states, embracing innovation enough, particularly the regulators? In our view, I simply believe that innovation can, in fact, assist a great deal to supplement as well as to augment the current processes to ensure that risks are minimized or mitigated while ensuring that we don't stifle growth. Some of the examples of innovation that may enhance the processes that I can think of, in fact, it's been touched on by Hendrik as well as Angela, the issue of improving the screening technologies. Innovation in screening technologies can, in fact, reduce the amount of time spent at the screening point whilst increasing screening effectiveness. An example is that of technologies that allow for the screening of laptops, tablets, and liquids without having to take them out of the bags. We have seen that quite often the longest queues are at a screening as well as immigration. So again, we think that there should be another discussion between government departments at a state level to interrogate the entire aviation system to look at what is it that can be improved in the value chain. In our view, it doesn't help to create efficiencies at check-in as well as at screening level, but passengers still have to wait in long queues at immigration. So collaboration and discussions towards fostering effective and innovative ways to simplify travel whilst mitigating risk need to be a collaborative approach. I do agree with Hendrik that civil aviation has come a long way in terms of the technologies that we have. Angela has touched on the pre-check, which has been introduced by the US. And perhaps we also need to look at the role of API as well as PNR to see what is it that can it do to assist in terms of providing more innovative ways of ensuring that there is a balance between passenger travel as well as mitigating risks. So we believe that there should be proper coordination between security agencies because we believe that the information gleaned from API as well as PNR could be used to conduct passenger risk profiling, allowing for risk-based differentiation in screening applied to passengers while ensuring that there is no discrimination. Hence, the emphasis on coordination with various agencies to allow for an informed decision-making process. We believe that API and PNR would help to reduce the amount of time spent at the screening point and therefore allows for faster processing of passengers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the question. We've struggled with this for a number of years, and having last week just recognized yet another tragic anniversary of the September 11th attack, which was the reason that TSA exists. We started out with a clear mandate that we would federalize 450 airports and roll out explosive detection machines, and it was new for us. And over the years, we found ourselves not necessarily as an agency sitting atop an industry regulating it, but really part of the industry with which we regulate. And so one of the things we've realized is that this balance between security and efficiency or passenger facilitation is not a binary choice. It really is one and the same. And it's one of the things that we are recognizing. And we've talked a lot about the growth of aviation, which is great for governments around the world. But governments can also not be an obstacle to that growth because of regulatory procedures that are not flexible and don't allow for innovation. And one of the things that we've developed in the US, and this has been great on the recognition of trusted traveler programs such as TSA PreCheck or CBP Global Entry, is just allowing for innovation to take hold. And one of the things we've really focused on internally at TSA is developing a task force to work directly with vendors, to work directly with the private sector, and really truly looking at this idea of a public-private partnership, P3. To us, that really is the key because really the thought leaders are out there. And one of the things that we've recognized, and if in the US, and this is much the same around the world, we are seeing sustained growth of between 3 to 5% enterprise-wide. And in certain airports, we're seeing double-digit growth. And the capacity constraints we're seeing in the system are very, very real to us. They're simply running out of space for us to even put innovation in terms of new machines. And so one of the things we're really taking a focus on is this intermodal approach to how we're looking at the space. You know, we have a number of airports where you have light rail entering in the airport. We have cruise ship terminals where we know thousands of people are going to leave that cruise ship and go directly to the airport. So aside from some of the innovations we're seeing in technology, are there more innovative ways for us to think about the airport itself and really taking an intermodal look at how we disaggregate where we're even screening these passengers? Looking at things like rental car facilities at an airport, taking a fundamentally different look at what a checkpoint looks like. And then, you know, finally, you know, not only having innovation in terms of the most effective things, but a much smaller footprint. You know, one of the things we're realizing is that in some of our smaller airports, some of the technology is simply too big to put in there. So not only does technology have to be the most effective in mitigating threats around the world, but also a much smaller footprint to make room for what is an exceedingly, you know, narrow lanes for us to put this technology. And one of the things that we've really had a lot of success in is bringing in industry very early on to the process. And focusing with the airports when they are developing new terminals is the best opportunity for us to really bring them in and let them know some of the new approaches to technology. Because then they can design an airport around what technology looks like. You know, and again, we inherited the checkpoints that we had following the attacks on 9/11. The opportunity we have now is as airports are being designed, we can design them with security in mind, and therefore they design the building knowing that they need to have the right number of data drops to facilitate some of the new technology. It allows for us to really sort of tie the technology together to realize the best investment. And then finally, we need to recognize the costs associated with technology. And it gets back to, we've had a lot of discussion up here in many of the comments about having flexible compliance models with an eye towards not diverting resources away unintentionally from some of the latest technologies. And if we maintain an eye towards outcomes, I think that is the best way for governments to allow ourselves to accept innovation and for it to take hold in the airports.
I'd just like to add something else. I mean, I think that those were very insightful comments that we should also, and perhaps this may be the role that ICAO needs to help us all play. And that is, what is our vision for the future? You know, we talk about checkpoints. I was just at an aviation day in Panama, and one of the questions on the panel was, if you had a magic wand, what's the one thing you would do? And my answer is that I would eliminate every checkpoint at the airport, so that there's the airport, the whole idea of an airport is for flow. It's for ground vehicles to get in and out, human beings to get in and out, airplanes to get in and out. And every time you stop any of those, you're losing the value of the airport. And so I would like to think that we all have a vision at some point, I don't know when this would be, that the whole airport is secure, that the whole airport can be screened without passengers ever having to stop, without having to have one item in mind that you're trying to indict, because we don't know what those items are going to be in the future. Items that don't exist now, or items that seem safe now, but someone figures out how to make them dangerous. So as we're doing all of these things and getting automated screening lanes and all these things for efficiency, which we should do, we need to keep in mind that our ultimate goal is the safety and security of the entire process, and hopefully the efficiency of the entire process, because the whole world can't be an airport as we are trying to satisfy demand. So we've got to be able to get as much through the space we have, the space we can develop as possible.
Heinrich, do you want to add?
Thank you very much. And of course, I would like to share the same dream as Angela. I mean, because wouldn't that be great? And I think that maybe one day we are going to experience that as well. But for that, obviously, the technology has to evolve considerably, because what we want is the maximum flow with the maximum security. And again, as we already have said, with the current methods, there are limitations. So obviously, part of the future is also artificial intelligence, the better analysis of the available big data with machine learning. So these are the kind of technologies which are still relatively experimental, but are also being tried up, at least in the EU, in some of the member states, which can make a leap, because that would then make it possible to enhance, I think, the quality of the screening. But I'd also like to underline, I think very good points also made by Poppy, and pointing out exactly the issues related to the immigration, the issues related to the PNR and API. I mean, I think PNR, API also, the pre-check was mentioned by Angela before. I think this is a very good idea what the US has rolled out. And at the same time, I think it is also worthwhile to explore how much could that become also a good practice around the globe. Of course, with this, as well as with the PNR and the API, the problem we face would obviously be the issues about the privacy and the issues about the adherence to the general data protection regulation. In Europe, the data protection level is very high, so sometimes it will be difficult to roll out this. But it's all possible to be done, and I think that this is something also the ICAO can show certainly leadership in exploring these possibilities. And I believe that here we also need to work together and exchange these practices that we have, exchange the practices of the trials, exchange the practices from different airports, from different parts of the world, because I think we all need that in order to pool the intelligence that we actually ourselves gather, and the solutions we roll out. And I think through that, it is also possible for ICAO to take the leadership and bring that to the global level. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for panelists for your very insightful comments and also suggestions and your experiences. I think from this round discussion, one thing I think it's clear: we should make a balance between aviation security and facilitation. Then the key we can play is the innovative way. In the innovative way for the regulations, innovative way for the process, and innovative way for the products. And that for that part, I think we all need to have early engagement with private sector. And also, we need to enhance public and private sector's partnership and to share the experiences between the member states, between the industry, and encourage innovation. Then, since the timing close approaching, I would like to ask a last question. We all know we should have innovative approaches, and we all know there is threats from the terrorism to target aviation. So I would like to get your advice and your recommendation, since you all talked about ICAO's leadership. So I want to ask you, what do you think ICAO can do and should do to foster innovation and enhance aviation security?
I think we talk a lot about the threat, and we talk about how the threat is evolving, and it certainly is. But the way I think of it, it's really becoming a much more difficult threat, a much more sophisticated threat, because while it's certainly evolving, while adversaries are getting smarter and more innovative, in developing devices to get past checkpoints. That's overlaid against the cyber threats, it's overlaid against the threat with UAS, it's overlaid against the threat with Insider. And at the same time, we're sort of seeing this devolution of the threat, where adversaries would take a very crude weapon such as a firearm or a hatchet or simply drive a vehicle into a crowd of people. And so it really kind of goes back to the discussion we were just having about, you know, this balance between effectiveness and efficiency really isn't a balance at all. We must focus on the effectiveness of our security systems. And insofar as we develop more effective systems, those things in and of themselves will facilitate passenger throughput in a much more effective way. And I think where ICAO leadership is key in this is allowing for these flexible regulations to allow for innovation. I think one of the most concerning things that we could find ourselves in is having compliance around the world, which diverts resources away from pursuing these innovative approach and does not allow the private sector to flourish. And so that's really where I think the leadership of ICAO is crucial in allowing for flexible compliance models that allow for both innovative approaches with private sector partnerships, innovation from ideas we're seeing from governments around the world, and really allow for the private sector to develop innovative ways for us to get the most effective security procedures we can put in place that also allow for much better facilitation to keep up with passenger growth.
Well, I definitely agree with that, and I think perhaps the role that ICAO can best play is their ability to convene, just like you're doing right now, and set the outcome criteria and encourage, as Ms. Farang said, and encourage the training and capacity building, because to be flexible, you have to be more sophisticated. It's a lot easier to kind of follow prescriptive rules, and then you follow the prescriptive rules, whether they work in your situation or not. It's much more difficult to develop a customized approach to your situation, and that's where I think ICAO can be helpful in getting that capacity building, helping countries, states, airports, airlines that need that training, that need that advice from the more sophisticated or the entities that have found good solutions that would be adaptable and would be fit for purpose for another airport, airline, country, regulator. And so ICAO, I think, needs to have that that sight over what's happening in the various countries and play the role of kind of mentor-protege or matchmaker, mentor-protege, because we're only as good as the least secure country, least secure airport, least secure airline.
I very much agree to just what Angela said, because I would have sort of highlighted the same thing. I mean, threats are global, we all know that, and evolving. And not only do we have to work together to be effective, also we need ICAO to play its full role. And it is also the role of bringing together the experts, also discussing these threats, and then seeing also what needs to be developed further as part of the ICAO work. And I also want to highlight and express the appreciation, the role that ICAO has played, a useful role in facilitating the exchange of information between states and between the states and industry in the past, like on issues of the pets or chemicals. I think without that, it would have taken much more time also to respond. And also I believe that it is, and I have said it many times also, and been privileged to say that also in this room, that I also believe that these discussions which are currently taking place in ICAO about its own, let's say, the maturity of the structure, the ICAO structure to respond to the security threats are good discussions, because I also do believe that it is possible to highlight more the importance of the security in the administrative structure of the ICAO. A couple of more points, relatively, I would say, more down to earth. First, we need timely and effective implementation of the aviation security SARPs, which are already in place, as well as obviously the renewed commitment and support to the implementing of the Global Aviation Security Plan, because it also embraces innovation, and I think this is also something we all have adhered to. It's important to enforce it and put it in practice. And secondly, I want to underline that it is essential, and ICAO plays a role there as well, that those who can would assist the ICAO states in implementing the Global Aviation Security Plan. And I'm also pleased in this regard with the work that we, the EU, has funded and also ECAC implemented in the CASE project, soon to be followed by its successor, the CASE 2, with more funds and a broader geographical scope, moving from North Africa also to Asia. And this we have done also together with the ACI's APEX program, which I think is a prime example of government-industry cooperation to provide synergies and complementarities to raise the level of security worldwide. So ICAO has played her important role, continues to play important role, and I think we all need to support ICAO in doing that.
Thank you. I agree with everything that the other panelists have said. And I also would like to thank ICAO for the role that it has played in terms of coordinating us. But I think we need more coordination, particularly between the states and the industry. And this is perhaps where the role of ICAO could continue to assist states, because the truth of the matter is innovation is fast-paced in terms of development. And our view, particularly taking from the ARPA's example, is that many regulators were in fact caught napping, so to speak, and we ended up having to kind of play a catch-up when the developments, were far ahead. So I think ARPA's, gives us a very good case study in terms of how best can we coordinate, moving forward, so that we are not found wanting. So a more coordinated approach, and perhaps a consideration for an establishment of an innovation forum, coordinated and led by ICAO, could indeed assist to serve as a platform to exchange and process ideas between member states as well as the industry. But I equally believe that we need to shift or change gears in terms of how we conduct our business, from the development of standards and recommended practices to review perhaps the mechanisms, whether it can be shortened, more targeted, more specific, timelines driven and so on. I know there's a lot of consultation that needs to happen between ICAO at the working group or the panel levels and so on. But perhaps it's time that we review the manner in which we develop standards and recommended practices, because in the current experience, it can take months and in fact years to come up with standards and recommended practices. And by the time the SARPs are out, there's new innovations. So we're kind of playing a catch up from time to time. I also think that we need to work together with the industry to learn together. The industry is moving extremely fast. And what we have seen from the trends is that, the innovators are not necessarily coming from the traditional aviation the disciplines. It's people who have seen the gap in terms of bringing more efficiencies and so on. So there is a lot of collaboration that needs to happen even at state level, where when an idea, for instance, is hatched by the private sector or the industry, that the regulators are tagged along, so that there's a learning. The perception is that regulators are stifling growth, because by the time we establish regulations, things have moved far ahead. And again, as I was saying, we are pretty much playing catch up. So there's a lot of rethinking, reviewing the processes at ICAO as well as state level in terms of ensuring that we embrace innovation and we walk the journey together. Thank you.
我也是希望国际民航组织能够建立更多的这个平台，能够使得各个缔约国能交流合作，标准互认，共同的来应对新的风险和威胁。谢谢。
Answer the risks and all the dangers.
For our distinguished panelists to share with us their insightful thoughts and recommendations. From their discussion, and we can understand the importance ICAO's role to play in the aviation security and facilitation, and in particular for the innovation in the aviation security and facilitation. Because without innovation, without we changing the way of doing business, that means involving ourselves, not only member states, industry, but also ICAO, in terms of setting up standards, in terms of processing, in terms of exchange our views together, and exchange also the innovative manner to deal with aviation security and facilitation, we cannot achieve the goal we're all expecting. And then another key element is aviation is global business. We need global cooperation and partnership. And all the panelists are looking for ICAO strengthen and continue to strengthen the leadership in this domain, and to facilitate member states and industry to exchange their best practices, to exchange their good idea, and also exchange innovative way to push forward this very important cause. And another element I think I would also highlight, ICAO recently strengthened its partnership with United Nations, and in particular with United Nations Security Council and the United Nations Office of Counterterrorism. We all engage together for very important project is API and PNR. That is a very important tool to help ICAO and help our aviation sector to address the aviation security and facilitation in the coming years. And I'm very much looking forward and encourage also our member states and our industry to cooperate closely with ICAO and with the United Nations and among yourself. And I should also emphasize the industry's partnership is, private sector partnership is so key to help us to achieve that goal, in particular for the capacity building. So without the capacity building efforts, I think for this global network, we cannot achieve our goal. So with these remarks, I would like to invite audience to give a round of applause to our distinguished panelists for their very insightful thoughts. Thank you.
And thank you, Secretary General, for launching us on a very interactive session and symposium. I think we've got the beat now. Thank you. Actually, in the next session, we'll be opening for questions. Oh, by the way, our panel, I would invite you to remain on stage. See, they want to go right away. I think it must be coffee break or something. Stay on stage for the traditional family portrait. We love those. As I was saying, in the next session, we will open up the floor to questions. For that purpose, you need the app. So I would invite you to, during the break, to download the app, and there's a section on the app where you can put your questions to the panels. The bell, traditional bell, you know, we have the school bell normally to get you back into the hall. Well, technological innovation, we now have it on the PA system. So in about 30 minutes' time, you'll be hearing the electronic bell to invite you back into the room. The networking break is sponsored today by ACI, and I'm delighted, Angela, to be able to thank you personally for the networking, your generosity for the networking break. And there's a little surprise there in the MSA booth. We have a sniffing dog, explosive sniffing dog. Her name is Barbie. And I took a few minutes during the session, the discussion, to go and shake her hand. She's very nice. And she'll be here for the 3 days. So I invite you again to go and see Barbie, but don't feed the dog. That's it for now. So we'll see you in about 30 minutes. And again, we'll be ringing the electronic bell. Thank you so much for your attention. Download the app. See you in a few minutes. Thank you.